So welcome to everyone tonight. Is there anyone here who's here for the first time? Awesome. To all of those who are here for the first time, a great big welcome. Make sure that you speak to me at some point in time this evening. I'd love to chat with you and find out what brought you tonight and your interest in astronomy. And to those of you who put up your hand who have been here for longer than I have, yeah, don't come and talk to me tonight. So I have quite a few announcements to go through this evening. We're going to also talk about the new location. For those of you that don't know, this is our last evening meeting here at McMaster Innovation Park. McMaster Innovation Park has more than doubled our rent, and we cannot afford it. So there has been a committee on the hunt for new location, and I'll talk more about that a little bit later. We have our regular door prizes tonight. We have 3 awesome books, and we have one of the books is donated by Lorraine Snyher, and Lorraine Snyher has also donated a set of cards from the paintings that she's done for her recent art show in November, and they are beautiful. And Jeff Parsons has donated a 2024 RASC Observer's Handbook. So thank you to those people very much for their extra donations tonight, along with our regular door prizes. After the door prizes, Matthew is going to talk about the sky this month, and then the meeting will end and the seasonal social will begin at that point in time. So heading right into announcements. The first one is membership renewal. Paula Owen, unfortunately, is not here this evening, and a number of you have spoken to myself or someone else in the room about renewing your membership. Unfortunately, she isn't here, and our treasurer is at another function and will be joining us a little bit later. So you can go on the website and you can renew your membership on the website using a credit card or using a PayPal account if you have them. So when you go on the website, you click on About and you click on Membership, and the link is there on the right-hand side. If you do want to wait until January, that is fine. You can renew then. But as of December, if your membership isn't paid, you go into lapsed in the database. And then you may not get any emails. But because Paula's not here tonight, we'll probably make an extension and everything will be just fine. Last month, the November food donation was $40. Thank you very much. I can see tonight that, Paula just walked in the room. So if you do want to pay your membership, don't get up right now. Don't get up right now and run and see Paula. You can see her later on. So, oh yeah, I'm rescinding my offer for January. So, yeah, she's just here. So our food bank donation was $40. I can see this month you have been extremely generous, and it is much appreciated by the food bank. So thank you for that. There is no library tonight. Denise and Chris and I moved the library out of MIP. It was stored here. We moved it out earlier this week. It is in storage until we have our new location. However, if you do have a book with you tonight that needs to be returned, Denise would be more than happy to take it off your hands. And I know that one person already has returned an overdue book, so thank you. The Event Horizon newsletter, again, awesome job, Bob. Thank you very much. That is, the deadline is Saturday, December 23rd before midnight. If you want to submit an article, you want to write something about your recent observing adventures, Bob is more than happy to take all entries. He also looks for pictures. So if you've got an awesome picture you'd like to share, you can send that to Bob at editor@amateurastronomy.org. And John Govro, do you want to speak about Astro 101? Okay. So Astro 101 is our beginner astronomy course, and it's going to be starting probably around the middle of January-ish. And it's aimed at beginning astronomers, but even if you are an experienced astronomer, there is nothing stopping you from joining this group and picking up a tidbit or two, or sharing something that has worked for you, and answering questions that the beginners might have. This is an excellent informal course. It runs on Zoom approximately every 2 weeks. And in January, we will have a sign-up sheet at our January meeting. If you're interested, you can sign up on the sheet. So John has your email, and then he will be in contact with you. I was just going to say that. And you can email John at astro101@amateurastronomy.org. Any questions about the beginner's course? Okay, if you do have questions, John will be around and you can speak to him after the meeting. Yeah. Okay. Available today, our amazing 2024 Celestial Events Calendar. It is only $10, which is an absolute bargain considering the price of calendars that are out there at this time of year. It is full of amazing pictures, all of them taken by members of the club. You may be sitting beside someone who has a picture in the calendar. So they are going pretty fast. There aren't an awful lot of them left. And just to give you an example, I'm going to find a picture that shows up well from the front of the room. There we go. This is John. That's just one of them. So they are available at the back. And I know Brenda's been selling a lot of them. So get your calendar before you leave tonight. Okay, on January 12th at our new location, our guest speakers that evening will be Brett Tatton and Frank Williams. Brett and Frank are part of the Blue Water Astronomical Society out of Owen Sound, and they're going to talk about engaging youth in astronomy through technology. They're going to cover the goals that they have set for their program, why they do it, and why they believe it is important. They're going to talk about the methods they used when they work with the kids. They're going to talk about feedback that they have received, and they're going to talk about their options for improvement. And they have a very interesting setup. They have an observatory that they use set on an outdoor education facility. And so they have a classroom available, and they also have an observatory to work with the kids. And their program is excellent. And I'm really excited to have them share it with us. And hopefully we can get some tips from them for our own outreach programs. And so that will be on the 12th. And they will be Zooming in. I'm not expecting them to drive from Owen Sound to Hamilton in January. So they will be on Zoom for our meeting. Okay. The next item up is the new location. So the new location committee has consisted of myself, Matthew Mannering, Janice Mannering, Ann Tkach, and Doug Turner. And we have been out beating the bushes and traveling to all kinds of different places and exploring lots of options. Many of you have been emailing us and doing a lot of legwork yourself in looking for potential locations. And I thank everyone so much for doing some legwork to help us out. And it has really made our job that much easier. So your help and your suggestions have all been explored. We've discussed all of them. We've made contacts, and we haven't left any of those stones unturned. So this is a list of all of the places that have been explored. There's quite a few. So I've been busy with email and on the phone. From our travels, we discovered that very few places have the type of technological setup that we have here at MIP in a price range that we can afford. And so through our discussions and then through discussion with council, we decided that at the least we needed our own projector. And so for Black Friday, Matthew Mannering went and purchased a projector and a stand for it at the cost of approximately $1,000. That is now club property, so that we will have a projector of our own that will hook up to current technology. And so that was kind of one of the things that came out of this, because most of the places we've looked at did not have any technology for us to use. So these are the places that were eliminated, and they were eliminated for some reasons. One might have been location, two might have been parking, and three was probably price. A number of these places were priced way beyond what we could afford, and that just took them off the list immediately. But we have had some success. So, as I said in the last meeting, there are 2 locations that I am going to present to you tonight. I'm going to take questions about them. We can talk about them. And then after Matthew does the sky this month, we're going to vote. And I'm going to have that break so that you can spend a little bit of time thinking about the options.
They're pretty cheap.
If you're like me, sometimes I find it hard to make a decision right away, and I want a little bit of time just to process it. So we will vote on the options that council is presenting after Matthew does the sky this month. All right, is everybody clear on that? Okay, good. All right, any questions about what I've talked about so far? Okay. Option number 1. The first option is Emmanuel United Church, 871 Upper Ottawa, Hamilton. It has a cost of $150 for 4 hours. There is ample parking. There's access from the link onto Upper Gage and then over to Upper Ottawa. It's a 1-minute walk from the number 41 bus. It's fully accessible. It has good speed internet. It is not air conditioned. There is library storage available. They have a portable standard size screen that we can borrow at no extra cost. They don't have any audio equipment. We are required to set up and take down the tables and chairs that we use. There is a lovely little kitchen available at no extra cost, and we would have access with our own key. Does anybody have questions so far about Emmanuel? Matthew? Yeah, and I'm getting to that. Okay. All right. So here it is on Google Maps. So Mohawk is right here. This is Upper Ottawa. This is the link down here. There's the access off of the link over to Gage, and then it's about 15, not even 15 minutes drive from here over to Emmanuel Church. For the people coming from either Burlington or Brantford, the link is here, and this is the location. There's ample parking in the back, and then the entrance would be around the edge of the church, okay? The picture here is the picture of the hall. Now, be aware that when you take pictures of architectural rooms, they look either skinnier or fatter than they actually are. So this is the space. It is in the upstairs of the church. This is actually like the roof of the church. This is the wall that they built to separate the sanctuary from this space according to fire code. There are the chairs, there are the tables. There are 2 rooms at either end, one down here and one where we're standing. The washrooms are right there. They're fully accessible. There is an elevator that is right. It comes right up to the room. So you walk in the front door of the church, the elevator's there. It's like kind of just tucked around the corner, and it goes right up and it opens right into the room, and accessible washrooms are on this floor. Okay. It has no air conditioning, and it's a little skinny. The floor tiles, I believe, approximately, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I get a calculation based on the squares, and we can sit 50 people and a couple of tables at the back.
Yeah.
Pretty much 50.
Yeah. So here are the drawbacks for this location. The room does not have any capacity for our in-person attendance to expand. So at one point in time, we were averaging between 80 and 100 people. Since COVID, it's averaged around 40 to 50. But that room doesn't give us a lot of space. We would have to put the library and membership services out of the room and in the 2 rooms at the end, but they open with doors into the main space. The room is also not adequate for Saturday bookings for workshops or clinics because it's the wrong layout. It's the wrong size. You have to take an elevator to get there. It's just not really adequate for a Saturday workshop or a clinic. There's no air conditioning, and it is in the top of the church. So keep that in mind. They haven't been able to afford to put air conditioning in it at this point in time. And I took the bus route time from downtown Hamilton, where the bus terminals all meet. I thought that was a good place to go from. It's a 20-minute ride by bus from downtown Hamilton, and the bus goes every 20 minutes. And the bus stop is like 1 minute outside of the door of the church. And that's what the church looks like from the outside, and it's right on Upper Ottawa. Matthew or Janice or Doug, have I left anything out? Oh, there is a gymnasium that is available in the church. It is a gymnasium size. It's a large gymnasium. It would cost us $250, which is a discount from what they were going to charge for it. They were going to charge $350, but they knocked it down to $250 for us. It's a big space, but $250 is right. Like, it's right at the upper limit of what we can afford. And it would be stressing us out financially a little bit, especially if the rent went up. Now, if we wanted to rent it for a Saturday clinic, it would be perfect. But it's right at the upper limit. Like $250 was our cutoff. $250 was our cutoff. So we sort of took that out of the running. And if they upped the rent, we wouldn't be able to handle the big space. Any questions about Emmanuel? Yes. So the question for everybody was, what about the spectator building? We had to pay extra for the time that we used. And we did explore the spectator building, and it is no longer available as an auditorium. It does not exist as an auditorium anymore. So the spectator building is not available at all, unless we want to like run medical experiments or whatever, but that's kind of not us. Matthew. Okay. Okay, thank you. That was before I was on council, so I wasn't aware of that. So thank you. Steve? It is on the ground floor with access to the parking lot. No elevator is needed. The issue with the gymnasium part would be storage for the library. Potentially, the library might have to be stored upstairs, and then we'd have to bring it down, because there are numerous other community groups that rent this facility, and they have all kinds of guides and scouting and all kinds of other equipment that they do store. So they said probably upstairs, but maybe not so much on the ground floor. Okay, which is why I'm not presenting ground floor gymnasium. Yes.
They're on sale. And then I got socks, but I also got a case of
$250 per meeting.
to charge it. But the veggie burgers weren't a good deal.
The workshop would probably be $250 as well. But I would have to confirm that with the church, because some churches up their cost for weekend rentals. Yes. Or if we wanted to book it for a Saturday workshop. Right now we have 160 members approximately. Yeah, there'd be no room. No. And our meetings are open to the public. So we sort of have to keep that in mind as well. Okay. Can I move on to the second option? I see lots of nods. Okay. So our second option is St. Matthew's on the Plains Church in Aldershot, which is just west of Waterdown Road. So this church is $140 for 4 hours. It is a large hall. There is ample parking at the church. There is access from the 403 onto Waterdown Road. It's a 1-minute walk from the bus stop to the church on the #1 Burlington bus route. It is fully accessible. It has good speed internet. It is air conditioned. We can store the library there. There is a permanently mounted pull down screen. We would be sharing audio equipment with the Trillium Camera Club that also meets in this space. We would be required to set up and take down all of the tables and chairs that we use. There's a little kitchen available at no extra cost. And it would probably be available for Saturday bookings for a workshop or a clinic. And again, we would have access with our own key. Steve. Hang on. So this is where the church sits. It sits here. Oh, shoot. Sorry, guys. The keys are really close to each other on the pointer. So here's where it sits on Plains Road. This is Waterdown Road right here. This is the Aldershot GO Train bus. This is the 403 with the access. So off the 403, right down Waterdown Road, right over there. Okay, and the parking is in behind the church. The bus stop is right here, right, a very short walk from the church. This is what the room looks like from the inside. At the front of the room, there is a stage. Again, be aware that the camera angles do change the way that the room looks. So this room is wider. It is a full gymnasium. You could play basketball in here. There's a stage up here at the front. There's the pull down screen. Heating and air conditioning is there. There are windows along this side. They have blackout curtains. The door to enter is right off the parking lot on the ground floor. The washrooms are off on this side up here. They are fully accessible with a ramp. There is another room that's over here that has cushy chairs in it, should anybody want to have like a cushy sit down. The Trillium Camera Club, of which Dan Copeland is a member, has graciously offered to share their audio equipment with us so that we would have access to audio equipment. We now have our own projector. There is a kitchen as well that is off here to the side, and we have access to the kitchen. There is a coat rack upon entry. The only thing is that the door to enter is at the very end in a dark corner of the parking lot. So if you got to drive in and around the very end, and it was kind of like, oh, where's the door? But finally found the door. So
like the graveyard.
Yeah, the door is actually beside the graveyard. But that's okay. I will bring the HAA flag and I'll stick it out and I'll put Christmas lights or something on it if we end up going there so that you can find the door the first time that you come. So the drawbacks. This location is not in Hamilton, and we are the Hamilton Amateur Astronomers. It is a 20-minute bus ride from downtown Hamilton, and the bus frequency is 20 minutes. We would share some of the audio equipment with the Trillium Club, and the concern that I have about this is what happens if the Trillium Club moves, or the member who has so graciously offered the equipment leaves either club. Not saying you're going anywhere, Dan, but just... Oh, all right. Dan's got lots of setups. And the entrance to the room is a little bit hidden. Are there questions about St. Matthew's? Jeff, I think I saw your hand. Jeff? Okay. So we would be signing a 1-year lease with them. Should either location not work out, then we would be looking for another home at that point in time. That's a year away. Yeah. Pat. Yeah. That would be an extra fee, yes. Yes. Give me a second.
He's got a book.
No.
A lot of the halls were more expensive on Saturdays, period. Because, and generally they think you're gonna book for an entire day, and when you explain you just need 4 hours.
Yeah.
The rate is a lot less, but it's still sometimes more.
So Pat, and I'll just wait till everyone can hear. Pat, I don't have in my notes what a Saturday would be. All I have is I asked about availability for Saturdays, and they said yes. They actually have 2 halls available. They have this one on the ground floor, and they have another one that's in the basement. She said most Saturdays they are available. It wouldn't be any less than $140, and it might be more. If we went there, I can always, or before we make, I can always find out what that cost would be should that. There are also other options that I have been going to explore in regards to Saturdays. I know that Eastgate Mall before COVID had a community room that they gave to nonprofit charitable organizations for free. And there's lots of parking. It's on a bus route and et cetera, et cetera. Now, unfortunately, I have not had the time to explore that. But that has been hanging around in the back of my mind about there could be another place where we might be able to go to hold a Saturday clinic. I did email, yes. Yeah. And right. Yeah. Yeah. And that's okay. There was another option that I did look at that was also around $50 an hour. But if we're looking at 4 hours, there's $200 plus tax. Churches don't charge tax because they don't collect, they don't pay tax, right? So we sort of thought about the city and thought, if none of this works out, then we have these other options that we can go back to and have a look at. And the city fell into that category. Paul, I think you had your hand up.
First of all, thank you. I've been on the other side of the kind of never all three back. Having been on the other side of the table, we have in our closet the station of I felt there would be no reception at
So both churches let us know up front that church use comes first before rentals. And the committee decided that that would be okay because we have our Zoom account. And if we had to, and the church needed that facility, we could move our meeting to Zoom for that month. And that would be fine. And we didn't really have a problem with the church. They said it wouldn't happen, like it would be like infrequent because they don't really have a lot happening on Friday nights. So they didn't see, either place did not see that it would be a big issue. But we did discuss that and thought if we had to, we could go to Zoom for 1 month. Lorraine, I think you had your hand up. Yes, yes. For those who didn't hear, Lorraine has asked about insurance. The club carries $5 million in liability insurance. That meets both of these churches' requirements without any problem. Dan.
They're very flexible. The club has 12 people for another people. They decide to go on their own. The church had no problem. We couldn't have to pay for those calls. So they were very flexible. And as far as new rooms and that, they seem to be like a top corner where you have big barrel. We don't have our executive meetings in that. And they're very flexible for that. And they're really used to that. They're going with high-speed fiber. You know, that's
yeah. Are there any?
We are in the back. On the you're thinking in the backyard.
It's city, right? So it's not really dark, but it's not too bad. Are there any other questions or comments that anyone would like to make regarding the potential locations? Okay. Pardon? The bus is the same. So it's about from downtown Hamilton, it's 20 minutes to one or 20 minutes to the other. And I know with geographic locations where people live, it's right. We've got one on the Upper Mountain. We've got one in Burlington. So if there are no more questions at this point in time, I'm going to continue on. I want you to take a few minutes and like think about this. All right. So think about the two locations. And then after Matthew speaks, then we will we'll do a vote just by a show of hands so that you have some time to think. I see two. Do I see two more questions? Hang on. It's about 150. Yeah, it's better. Doug, there is a question from Zoom. Okay. Did someone else in the back have their hand up? No? Okay. I just don't want to miss anybody.
On the plus side, this Matthew thinks that he's more accessible than the United Church up in the mountain.
They are both fully accessible in every stretch of the way. So the buildings, the physical buildings themselves. Yeah, and the one on the mountain will be better for somebody else. Right? So it just works. Doug, have you got that question for me?
It was an aborted question. It's already been answered.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Moving right along. Next Saturday, September. Let me start that again. Next Saturday, December 16th, we have a potential for opening Benbrook. Please watch your email for confirmation on that, whether this time of year is iffy regarding it. So we're just going to have to wait and see. And the next opening potentially is Saturday, January 6th, which is before our next meeting. And again, just, watch your email for confirmation that that's a go, because weather can close that down very quickly. Our next meeting is Friday, January 12th at 7:30 and location to be determined. Okay. Chris, can you bring me the door prize tickets, please? And we're going to do the door prizes next. It's $145 in the food bank. If we get $5 and make it 150, which would be like absolute. Oh my goodness. Thank you. If it is 200 by the end of the night, that would be absolutely awesome as well. So, all right, Chris Stretch, I'm going to have you draw the first ticket tonight. It can't be your own. We have on tap The Apollo Murders by Chris Hadfield. 3 astronauts in a tiny spacecraft, 250,000 miles from home, and with no help. Ooh. An introduction to practical astronomy. Excellent for beginners. Some of you might be beyond the introduction part. And Orbit, beautiful photos taken from space. The winning ticket is, last 4 numbers, 9777. D. Oh, we also have the Rask handbook and the gift cards from Lorraine to pick from. So you can head back to the table and last 4 numbers, 9796. 9796. Going once. Oh, Paul, there you go. Go and pick. Okay, last four numbers. 9824. Les, is that you? Excellent. Take your pick. Nine, 793. Excellent, Pat. Congratulations. And the last door prize tonight goes to 9785. There we go. Excellent. Tom, congratulations. Congratulations to all of the winners this evening. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Matthew, who's going to come and do the sky this month.
Does it need to be turned on? No? No, I'm just getting it so it's not inside out. Or, oh, here we go. Guess I should have done that before. Is it working?
Yep.
You can hear me back there? Okay, so this is going to be quite different. I'm actually just going to do a tour of the sky, but before I start, John Govro sent me a note yesterday saying that just to take note that at 8 o'clock, so 12 minutes ago, Comet Halley was at the furthest point in its orbit from the sun. So it is halfway around to coming back again. So in another 37 and a half years or so, it should be back. So I'll be 102. So don't go looking for it. It's somewhere between, I read different reports, but somewhere between 25th and 37th magnitude. You're not going to see it even with a mammoth telescope, and its reflectivity is like 3%. It's very dark. So just so you have that completely up-to-date information. Another point of interest, if you look on space weather, they're talking about the star Betelgeuse in Orion being occulted by an asteroid on the 11th. So if you're in southern Florida, right down the tip, you can actually see Betelgeuse disappear for about 10 seconds. And it's a bit variable because the actual asteroid isn't perfectly round, so it's going to be tumbling. And but they're going to use it as a way to sort of be able to check on the atmosphere of the star. So there should be some interesting science coming out of that probably within a few weeks after now. So anything else? No, I got something that Steve talked about, but that's in my talk. So this is Stellarium. It's free. You can get it for a desktop or your phone. I'm going to put the time down here. And it is going to be for, wow. Started around quarter to, where's the, Why is... Trying to get it to be dark. Here we go. Okay. So Mercury was there just like an hour ago. I saw it. And I don't see it now. But basically, Mercury is going to be very low in the western sky. Steve wrote about it in the event horizon. In the west-southwest, in this area here. You've only got about a 20-minute window to see it between when the sun sets and it gets dark enough, and also Mercury's high enough in the sky to be able to pick it up. Oh, yes. Oh, there it is. Yep, sorry. You're right. I've already done this today. I should know this already. I don't know what I'm doing. But yes, there's Mercury there in the southwest. The sun is already set, but you've got very few minutes, 20 minutes where it's between, say, 8 degrees and 4 degrees above the horizon. But you should be able to see it, especially with binoculars. So that's something worth seeing. And that's now and in the next week or so would be a good time. But you have to have a very clear western and southwestern horizon to be able to pick it up. So now I am going to scoot forward an hour and still staying in the southwest. What you'll notice is the constellations of summer are still actually reasonably high in the sky. So Cygnus here, looking like it's going to do a swan dive right into the ground. And there's also, of course, Sagitta and Delphinus, the dolphin, and Aquila with the star Altair. These are all available right after dark. But what's really interesting to me is, and you need to go to a fairly dark site to do this, but at this time of year, right when after dark, Fomalhaut, which is a very bright star, has just about this whole piece of sky to itself. Can everybody see? Oh, you can. Okay, you can see my marker. So it has the sky to itself. And up here is Saturn. So that's all cool. So everybody wants to look at Saturn. The rings are in the process of closing, and I think will be completely closed in, is that 25, John? 2025, around there. But what's really neat is that if you're in a dark location, the Helix Nebula, which is a huge like ring nebula, about 20 arc minutes across, so 2/3 the size of a full moon, is almost exactly halfway between Fomalhaut and Saturn right now. So if I cheat and use this angular measure device and just draw a line, the helix is right here. So if you're in a dark location and you take your binoculars and you just draw an imaginary line halfway between Fomalhaut and Saturn, you should be able to pick up the helix. And let's see if this works on this laptop. It's gonna work. Hello? So, I'm going to do that several times where I forget to get rid of that. But there's the helix there. So you can imagine a full moon is, well, it's only about that big in comparison. So if you have a really dark sky, binoculars, you can actually see this. It's really cool. I remember John and I looking at that at Cherry Springs all those years ago for the first time, just with binoculars. And if you follow around, you're going to see Jupiter is way up nice and high. Now, if you use Stellarium to try and track the Great Red Spot, good luck, because the algorithms in it are not accurate. And I always try to have the most up-to-date one. It never seems to be accurate. But if you go into Sky and Telescope, I believe online or in their magazine, it will tell you for the month when the Great Red Spot will be on the central meridian right in the middle of the disk at pretty much every day of the month. So that's a good spot to look for that. What else we got going on here? The planet Uranus is also down over here. Now Uranus is obviously not as bright as Jupiter, but if you're in a dark location, it's naked eye visible right at the edge of visibility at about magnitude 5.9, and most people can see to 6. But if it's a dark enough spot, you should be able to get it. And to make things really nice, it is just straight across from the Pleiades. So some of the things I'm going to tell you a little bit about is certain times of day are really good for seeing certain things and finding them for the first time with your binoculars or a small telescope, because it's either straight up, down, or left, right. No weird angles, no having to look all over the place. Jupiter's also a good marker right now for Aries. Now, it shows Aries as a big, long constellation here with this star over here. I never see that one. The 3 you're going to look for are these 3 here. And if you have a small telescope, the one on the end is a very nice double. So you can use some high magnification to have a look for the double. The cool thing is if you pop over to HAA and you go straight up, you run into the Triangulum galaxy about halfway between there and Merak in Andromeda. And in between is Triangulum, another small constellation that a lot of people don't normally look for or see, but Triangulum is right there. And once you've seen it, you can't miss it. Same with Aries, you'll recognize them pretty quick. And this whole line here, HAA, Triangulum, Merak, takes you straight up to the Andromeda galaxy. So you can just take your binoculars and start in one spot and just work your way straight up the sky. It's pretty cool. You can do that. Down here, we're now in the east. This is again at about 20 to 7 in the evening, so not too late at all. You've got Taurus, the bull here with Aldebaran, the red star. And what's really nice about that is if you go from Aldebaran, you go straight up, you've got the Pleiades. If you go to your left or more east, then you are in Auriga. And the very bright star Capella is kind of your signpost there. And Auriga is this odd-shaped house-looking thing on its side. And again, with binoculars, you can actually take the 2 baseline stars here at this time of night. Remember, everything rotates around. So what's the baseline at this time is not the baseline for 4 or 6 hours later. But if you do that and you run your binoculars just up and down through here, you're going to find 3 open clusters, M38, M36, and M37 are all going to be there for you to see easily in binoculars, look great in small telescopes. You can find them in your finder, no problem. And if you go, oh, that time it worked, into that M38, if you've give binoculars, look just to the right and you'll see 2 eyes and a great big smiley face right there. That's free. So give you a giggle if nothing else, right? And if you're in a fairly dark location, you can just work straight across to the right and you'll see this little grouping of stars here. No problem whatsoever. A really nice little grouping, and right above it is the Flaming Star Nebula. And from a dark location, you'll actually see a haze around that star, even just with binoculars. I even once saw it from Brantford, believe it or not. So that's pretty good. And keeping with the whole idea of just going straight up, if you go straight up, you're going to run into the constellation of Perseus. Perseus, to me, is the wishbone. So here's the 2 pieces that you snap, right? Murphak, the star, the bright star in the middle, is part of an association of stars and galaxies. You won't see the galaxies. There's thousands of them in there, but they're very remote. But the stars make a beautiful open cluster effect right around Murphak. So that's something else you can look at. And then if you take the side of the wishbone that's going sort of straight across the sky, really quickly you get to Algol. And Algol is the demon star. Most of you know about this one. It's an eclipsing binary. And about every 2.7, 2.8 days, if I remember correctly, it goes down 1.3 magnitudes and becomes about the same magnitude as the star right beside it here. So normally when you see Algol, it's definitely brighter. But one night you're going to go out and you're going to look at it and you go, hey, how come that doesn't look bright anymore? It's the same as the other one. And it's because it's being eclipsed by the other star that's going around. And it runs like clockwork. And again, Sky and Telescope has all the times when algol will be at its minima. And you can look that up, and then you can look for times that are favorable for you. And when the sky is not gray, like it is and has been in perpetuity, you'll be able to see that sucker. So again, you can go straight up from algol, straight up. With your binoculars, you'll end up with another nice open cluster M34. And that's a really nice one to look at. And if you go straight up from there, almost, you get to Almac, one of the most beautiful doubles in the night sky. Definitely small telescope territory and definitely worth a look. If you come back to Murphac and you follow the sort of the top end of the wishbone up to the left, it's going to take you towards Cassiopeia. But before you get to Cassiopeia, for all those of you who've been doing this for a long time, you already know that's where the double cluster is, right? In binoculars, it'll show up as two nice patches of haze. It's all stars with a few little bright points in it. If you put a small telescope on there, it resolves into two very beautiful little clusters with different colored stars in there, different sized stars. It's really gorgeous. And one thing you won't see on here, but just over here in this area here is another quite dense patch called Stock 2. And that's also a really nice one to look at. And it's dead easy because you take your binoculars and kind of just go straight across like one or two binocular fields and you're there. So now we're over to Cassiopeia and we're still working up and down. And you start at the bottom star of the W. Here's the big W. You know that movie from the 60s? It's Under the Big W. I don't know how many of you remember that one. But anyways, you go from the first star to the second star and then just take a bit of a left turn, not very far, about 5 degrees or so. And you run into, here it's very boringly called the Dragonfly cluster, but the other names are the Owl and the ET. And I like the ET because it does remind me of ET a bit. And when you look at it through a small telescope, you're going to see the two eyes, kind of a body, and what looks like two wings coming off of it. This isn't quite the way you see it in your eyepiece, but when you look through your eyepiece, it looks like this, right? The guy is just like that. So sometimes upside down, sometimes on the side, but you'll get the idea and be able to see it. I remember Chris White, that was one of the first things he saw at Binbrook, was that one. And so you work your way up the chain. If you're really into it, there's the Pac-Man Nebula there. But what you do is you get to Shedar here, and the last star, Cap of the W, follow exactly that line and go out one more distance, distance between those two, go out again. You're at M52, another open cluster you can see with binoculars or a small telescope. So all kinds of awesome stuff. And you haven't even had to look straight up and, crick your neck or anything. If I go to the north, one of the things you'll see is the Big Dipper is still big, but it's right down on the horizon. So you have to wait for about 6 hours for it to sort of come up and around. And most of us are in bed and it's really cold anyway. So I don't bother looking for the Big Dipper at this time of year, but it doesn't stop you from looking up at Polaris, which is a really cool double star. How many people have seen Polaris as a double star? Oh, I know I showed some of you and some others found it on your own. Okay, so there's a big magnitude difference between Polaris and the second one, but it is easy to do even in a small scope. And then if we just go sort of straight across to the left, you end up at the head of the dragon. So this is Draco. Draco goes all over the place, but here's the head, and it's got this sort of keystone shape to it. And there's 4 stars. Go to the most unassuming, most boring looking star of them all, that one. And use your binoculars. Hopefully, especially if you got some 15 by 70s or whatever, be even better. But you just look in there or a small telescope and it is an awesome double. And it's called the headlights because, well, look at it. It looks like a set of headlights coming at you in the dark. So that is a really cool one. I remember my wife, that was the first thing she found on her own back a while ago. One other thing I wanted to mention was going back to Delphinus here, dolphin. Dolphin is made up of a diamond shape of stars and a tail. Turns out there's another one. And what you have to do is you have to find the great square of Pegasus, which is fairly high in the sky this time of year. So if I was, this is at 10 to 7 at night. The beauty is if you're looking due south and you just go straight up, you're going to hit the great square of Pegasus. Look for the two stars on the right. And then let's see if this is going to do it for me, or it's going to be, oh, there it is. So if you go about 2/3 or 3/4 of the way up, you'll run into this with your binoculars. And there it is. It's about a full degree across. And I saw that for the first time at our star party this year, along with Sue and a few others. We had stayed up one night. There was just her and Doug and me, and we stayed up with our binoculars, and we just did binocular astronomy and looked at a lot of these things. That's the first time I've seen that. So that was kind of neat too. I don't want to take all the time for later, but I am going to skip forward about, well, let's see where we're at here. Okay, so the winter constellations now are definitely coming up in the east-southeast. And if you wait till about 9:30, 10 o'clock, somewhere in there, you're going to have a pretty good view of a lot of stuff that is now making its way up into the sky. Sirius, the dog star, is just going to be very low in the southeast. Orion now is nice and high. Gemini is on its side with Castor and Pollux there. And if you're looking up, you'll see that, hey, there's Auriga again with the smiley face. It's just moved up higher in the sky. So what do you get out of this new stuff that's come up? Well, you get some really cool things. And I'm just going to mention a few. If you go to the heads of the twins, Castor and Pollux, go to Castor. That is actually a beautiful double. And there's actually a third one, which I meant to look for recently and I didn't find, but it's about 90 arc seconds from the pair, much dimmer. Each of these three stars is a double. You cannot see the other star for each double. They're all spectroscopic binaries, meaning they know they're there, but you can't see them. But basically, there's three stars all bound together. And this is an easy double to pick up. If you take Castor and you go right down to his boots over here, you end up at M35, right at his toes. If I can get it to be here. There we go, M35. That is one of the most awesome open clusters in my mind in the northern sky. It's really gorgeous, and you keep looking at it, there's more and more to see. So that's really cool. If you're looking for something really different, there's the Eskimo. Now, how does that look in our scopes? It looks really, really small, and it looks really, really blue. And sometimes if you can really pour on the magnification, you can see some shape to it. But it's the color more than anything that I really like coming out of that. And across from Castor and Pollux, there are some gorgeous photography possibilities. The Christmas tree cluster, which includes the cone. There's the Rosette Nebula, which is stunning. If you're going to look for the Rosette, especially just with your binoculars or a small scope, you are not going to, where did I just go? Oh, I'm still over there. Sorry. There we go. There we go. Okay, you're not going to see that, unfortunately. It would be awesome if you did. But what you will see is the cluster in the center of stars. And that actually resolves into what looks like somebody took the number 6 on a set of dice, and some little kid just went and moved all the numbers around a bit. But that's kind of what it looks like, is 2 and 2 and 2 stars. And you have found the cluster at the center. That's kind of neat. And the other thing down here in Monoceros, I have to get over to it, Beta Monoceros, which is over here. Now this one's in the middle of nowhere. It's in nowhere land, right? So one of the ways you can sort of look for it is to go from Sirius. You've got to count degrees with binoculars or whatever. It is, oh, I can't see that. That's useless. How far is that? It's just over 10 degrees. So about 2 binocular fields at about 11 o'clock from Sirius in the sky. And it'll get you there. If you can actually physically see the stars, it's much easier. The belt stars sort of point to it. But if you get there, it is actually a triple star system. And is it going to let me do it? So that becomes 2. And you can see the lower one is already splitting. It becomes 2 as well. There you go. Going really fast. But that's a triple that you can see quite easily in a small telescope. And it's really quite interesting to look at. I don't think I have to tell you too much about Orion. You can hardly go wrong. The Orion Nebula. I mean, what can you say, right? That's pretty cool. And then another really interesting double star is Rigel, which is a super bright star. And its secondary star is very, very dim. The problem with Rigel is that very fact that Rigel is super bright. Now, this isn't showing it to you, but imagine you're looking through your eyepiece and you see this. Excuse me. The second star is going to be tiny and it's going to be right around, like at the edge of the glare. So you can see it. You might have to be patient. The other thing I ran into, which is really quite annoying, is that because I use my big Dob and it's got the 4 veins at the front, I've had cases where that stupid star was right behind the vein, right? I don't know what the odds are, but they're not good. And so you have to wait for a while for everything to turn a little bit so that your vein is in a slightly different position. Otherwise, it will all be in vein. So try and that was, I know. That was we could end with a bang, right? So anyway, so the Christmas winter constellations are coming up. The summer constellations are still in the west. There's just a ton of targets out there to look at, and try and pick times like I was trying to show you where you can literally work from low in the sky and just go straight up in columns or straight across to find things instead of doing like zigzags all over the place, right? There's lots and lots to see. And I think I've taken enough of your time, so I'm done.
Thank you, Matthew, for that awesome tour through the early winter sky. It makes me want to rush out with my binoculars and just sit in the lawn chair and look up at the sky. So thank you for that. That was really informative and really interesting. So as I said, after Matthew presented, we would then have, you will have had a chance to think about our 2 locations. So John, you're going to help me with this if you want to come up here. John is our official council recorder, so he's actually going to do the tally for this. So we are going to do this by just a very simple show of hands, nothing too formal. And so we're going to start with the Emmanuel United Church. Before we do it, are there any further questions or comments about Emmanuel that you would like to ask? Okay, by show of hands, those who think we should move to Emmanuel. You got it, John? Oh, hang on. Sorry. Are there any votes from Zoom, Doug?
No, not for Emmanuel.
Okay. All right. And St. Matthew's. Doug, we should make him count. Doug, are there votes from Zoom? Two votes from Zoom for, okay. So I will approach St. Matthew's on Monday and let them know that they are the prize winner, that we're going to go there. So the January meeting will occur at St. Matthew's on the Plains, on 126 Plains Road in Aldershot, just west of Waterdown Road. And thank you very much for considering it. Thank you for taking the east of Waterdown. I'm sorry, east of Waterdown. I'm sorry. Did I say west? Oh, sorry. Yeah, wrong. East of Waterdown. Don't turn the wrong way. Thank you very much for taking the time to consider that. A very big thank you to the members of the committee who spent a lot of time looking up stuff and driving around and checking things out, and lots of discussion. So thank you all so very much for that. So a hand applause for the committee for doing that. And I will make sure I put the flag out when we go there in January, unless it's 40 below and 100-mile-an-hour wind, and then the flag will end up in Toronto. So we don't want that. So that you can find the door at the very back of the church. Yeah. Yeah. Yes, there is. You can park right beside the door. It's very good for that. So last thing for me to do tonight is to wish everyone a very safe and happy holiday season in whatever way that you may celebrate this season. I know there are very different ways of celebrating. And there's lots of food waiting for us out in the foyer. So, Matthew? Yes, Paula is here. So if you do want to renew your membership, you can do that for sure. So happy holidays to everyone. Thank you for coming. Safe trip home, and go and enjoy the food.